And there we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to Afterburn Soccer Show. We're coming to you on this nice Monday evening here, September 11th. One of those anniversaries that always kind of makes you pause when you hear it after, every time you hear it, you pause and think about where you were. But hey, we're here to talk soccer tonight, to think about what lies ahead for FC Dallas, think about just the busy slate of soccer to come, and to break it all down. And so thank you all for joining us on this evening as we talk about FC Dallas, North Texas, and even some international opportunity to talk about soccer as well. Joined with, I'm Nathan, of course. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill, and I'm joined with our buddy Jose at El Chico Carmona.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. Oh, looks like you got a nice haircut there, Jose.
Long overdue.
I know. Yeah. Well,
Thanks.
About due for mine as well. But good. Well, we have several things to get to, but of course, let's just start looking back with FC Dallas. I almost thought about going back and getting the video clips of us making predictions to our last podcast, since we didn't go live last week, and we were predicting a really strong week, at least 4 points for FC Dallas, and then they went to St. Louis. There was that red card on Maarten Paes, and while they did get a late consolation goal, they lost 2-1. And then back at home, we were hoping that they would take advantage of that opportunity, but only could get a draw with Atlanta, visiting Atlanta. Another game that sort of punches some holes in our hopes of this team being a contender. Now, with that said, there have been some predictions out there that FC Dallas is still on the playoff line, and if they continue at their current form, will still likely make the playoffs, but they'll be one of the last teams to sort of punch their ticket. So that's not ideal for FC Dallas fans, but that doesn't mean they can't still perform well over these next several games to close out the season. So yes, a loss at St. Louis, which away losses are not the end of the world in any soccer league, but the draw at home is just another kind of a disappointment when we thought this team had begun to find their second or third gear. And it's just unfortunate all in all. So Jose, what were your reactions after that week? What did you see that didn't go FC Dallas's way?
Oh, they were just snake bit, really. In all honesty, they lost in all the disappointment with 1 point in 2 matches. Is the fact that FC Dallas played two of the highest scoring teams in the league, St. Louis, top scoring team, I believe, in MLS, at least in the Western Conference for sure. And then followed it up with a game against Atlanta, second highest goal scoring team in the Eastern Conference. And let's face it, they for the most part did a tremendous job shutting down St. Louis, a man down. You're talking about a team that scored over 50 goals in their own backyard. And you have to admit that had FC Dallas not gone down a man, namely their starting goalkeeper, you have to think that's a game they can walk out of there with at least a point. Because frankly, Dallas losing to St. Louis had more to do with the fact that they simply wore down, which would happen eventually, and people will say that they got the substitutes wrong, which I can't defend. But let's face it, that's the most dangerous time when you're facing a high-scoring team. In the transition of players, that's usually before your new guys settle in. That's when they can get you at. And frankly, it's hard to accept that, but it's not a bad loss, I don't think. Down, 2-1. They had a chance, a golden opportunity to go up 1-0 off of that Paxton single man run through the entire St. Louis defense. only to have Ansah not have the Ansah,
Yeah.
and then and then and then later Ansah got one. After we were down 2-0. But you have to think, had Ansah found that goal, FC Dallas walks out of St. Louis with 1 point, and we're singing a different tune. Also, I want to add that in Atlanta, so you're facing the second highest scoring team in the league, and you're missing Paes, your best goalkeeper, Tafari, your best center back, and you're missing Quinion, who's your best defensive mid that you've got. So you've got your pretty much three of your best defenders out against a team that has been scoring a lot of goals lately. And like I said, I think they have 51, which is second in the Eastern, and it's third or fourth in the league. So you faced two of the best offenses in the league, and the defense just even though they couldn't secure FC Dallas 3 points, like I said, there's nothing we can do about the St. Louis match. That's just bad luck. And on the road, hey, and on the road, that seems to happen a lot to any team, So
Yeah.
I am not down on the St. Louis loss. While I am disappointed that FC Dallas did not get 3 points against Atlanta, like I said, taking circumstances, considering the fact that you're playing Jimmy, who, let's face it, Jimmy's better days are behind him. I've always been a big Jimmy guy, and he's an excellent backup. But you have to wonder if Paes starts if Dallas doesn't allow 2 goals against Atlanta. So and not just that. I mean, the combination of Tafari, Paes, and Quinion, that's just too much to miss out against any high scoring team in the league. This is a league where 1 or 2 players in your starting missing from your starting lineup makes a significant difference. And against if it was a lesser opponent, maybe LAG or someone like that, and it was 2-2, then I'd be very upset. I'm disappointed, but I'm not upset. And I'm not of the gloom and doom like everybody else is. The way I see it, Dallas is just middle of the pack right now. There's a whole pack of 8, 9, 10 teams battling for, I don't want to say the last 3 spots in the playoffs. They're battling for the top, the last 5 or 6 spots in the playoffs. Basically anything below third place is pretty much there for everybody in that pack. So right now, I am concerned because Dallas has to they cannot drop any more points at home. If this was a team, this is against Atlanta with all the people missing, I'll allow it. I will say it was foreseeable. But going forward, I don't care. You're down a man, down 2 men. You can't drop any points at home because regardless of what you do on the road, it's getting results in the last, 3-4 home games?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to determine if you make the playoffs. Dallas wins all their remaining home games, and they're in. The road game results will determine whether they're squeak in at 9th or go up higher. And that's my take on. So I'm not in panic mode, but like I said, they can't afford to drop anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you, and really, I think one of our FC Dallas friends, Sam, in one of the chat channels we're in, commented on that St. Louis game that the team played really well, after, even starting that match, and then after going down a man to keep the game in hand up to the 80th minute, and then to give up 2 goals and even to get one back. Just felt like the team was hurt a little bit by its lack of depth for that kind of situation. As it seemed like they began to shift a little bit attacking-wise, thinking, hey, we're going to lock this down, but let's put a couple of attacking guys on and see if we can maybe squeak out of here grab a goal, and it comes back to bite you. But it's tough. I mean, those kinds of losses, they changed everything. You just try to hang on. and they were 10 minutes away from a 0-0 result, which we would all have said, you know what, we'll take it. We will take it in that scenario. But at home, you just keep hoping. I think the disappointment comes just from the Leagues Cup and this team looking really strong in the Leagues Cup and looking to unlock some things by moving Velasco to the middle. And it seemed like they found that extra gear, that extra creativity that they had been lacking. That seems to have taken a step back a little bit, but I think that's why people are disappointed. So I think that's where it comes. So you haven't seen that, and then you see some of these tough goals given up, including at home. You go up 1-0 against Atlanta. It seemed like the team was just gonna take over, but then you let Atlanta back in it. You let Atlanta get the go-ahead goal, and then you have Bernard has been a story of the season. He gets the tying goal. It's just tough. It's just tough. This is soccer, I know, but it's tough when you saw what they were able to do in the Leagues Cup.
And frankly, in all honesty, though, the hardest thing about the 1 point on the two matches is losing Comungo. Because let's face it, he's a guy. Well, I wouldn't say he's a must start. He's a guy that he's that type of player that can get that one goal out of nothing. He's shown that he can do it. We lack those kind of players. Jesus can do it, and Comungo has shown that he can do it too. And losing a player like that, a player that can snatch something out of nothing. Even though it's not for their remainder season, it still hurts. It's a tough loss. I think losing him against Atlanta, I think that changed that trajectory of that game. I think if Comungo doesn't go out, I think Dallas can actually walk out of there with 3 points. But that, I think, to me, that just kind of deflated the team. You're already starting 2 players. 3 players, really 2 players that getting their first starts, and 1 player that's a backup, and then you lose one of your players that has been red hot of late. I mean, that's and it's tough. It's tough. Like I said, it's just a snake bitten week, and Dallas has a history of good seasons turning bad, and that's where everybody right now is basically on edge saying, man, this is starting to look familiar to other seasons. But I don't think so. I haven't seen the players hang their heads down or anything like that. I'm just saying it's going to be a slug. It's going to be a struggle, but I don't think Dallas is in any worse shape than anybody else right now, fighting for that last couple of playoff spots.
Well, and they prepare to face on Saturday this weekend. They had it's actually a home game against Seattle, and Seattle is at 41 points ahead of them. So, but Seattle hasn't been in the best.
It's a 6-point game.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. And Seattle has not been in the best of form this season. They've been not far from where Dallas is as far as sort of almost 500 across the board. So there is opportunity for Dallas to get going again. Dallas still is actually a couple of games behind Seattle.
Seattle is second place.
Yeah, it's wild.
And they haven't looked like Seattle of old. They just dropped points at home against Portland, who, let's face it, are not a good team this year. So Seattle is a team that's really not much different from Dallas. Like I said, there's a pack of teams fighting for anything below the third place. I would say even Seattle being second place right now, for example, Dallas wins that match, and Dallas will be 4 points out of second spot. So frankly, second spot all the way to ninth spot are really open considering how many games are left over. And let's face it, This is a game. This is a must-win game. We got to be at home. We got. It don't matter. We're in playoff mode. Every game against any team battling for that playoff spot is practically a playoff right now. So it's a must-win. And like I said, I don't have a problem with the draw against Atlanta because of what happened transpired in St. Louis and the people that were rotated out. There's not going to be any rotation here. This is going to be a full strength FC Dallas squad um, at home. This is 3 points. A draw against Seattle or a loss, of course, is horrible. But even a draw against Seattle in your own backyard, you can't have that. I would tell you right now that would be a really horrible result for FC Dallas. You need to go. You need to beat Seattle, drop them down into the pack like everybody else, and give yourself a little breathing room for the road trip matches coming up.
I agree. It's going to be an interesting time for FC Dallas coming up. This is really the do or die of the season. Now, our buddy Hutch, he has some questions for us. We'll get to these here shortly. But he says all these previous play for the tie blunders from Nico earlier this season has the team in the hot seat. And I definitely think Nico is a pragmatic coach. I think we've seen that. I think he's building a team where he has the tools off the bench to lock up the draw or to go for a win, to push the game. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in the end. Nico has seen just how tough it can be, and you gotta grind out points. So I don't mind that. In fact, there's some of that's part of the FC Dallas way. Oscar Pareja certainly knew how to do some of those things even before him. Heinemann, was definitely that kind of coach, could lock it down. If anything, I don't know that that's cost us as much, because I think earlier in the season we didn't have some of these attacking options like Ansah, who really has been one of the better signings in the second half of the season for FC Dallas in a while, as far as productivity. Typically, you bring in a guy in the summer transfer window, you don't expect a lot, especially for FC Dallas. We don't get that quality till next year, but he's provided something. I'm not saying he's perfect or anything, but it's kind of a surprising little story that's flying under the radar for us.
I like your enthusiasm, but let me just add that bar is not very high at all. So
absolutely. I mean, Mendy has not been bad either. I mean, he's had some spots already.
Mendy has looked fabulous. In all honesty, that's where my hope comes from right now. Is Ilara? Sorry, because the part of Spain that they're from. No, the part of Spain where they're from.
All right.
They don't use the Y sound for the double L. So it's Ilara, which I had to, being Mexican speaking Spanish speaker, it's just weird for me to have to pronounce the double L's as an L sound, but that's what it is. It's Ilara Mendy. And anyway, he's class, absolute class. I'm excited about him getting in form, getting in 90-minute shape, which I frankly don't think he's still there. That's what gives me hope going forward is it, just from what I've seen. If Ilara can get in form before FC Dallas and help FC Dallas make that playoff push, then this is a guy that has the potential to be the best midseason signing that FC Dallas has ever had.
Sure.
That comes in at midseason and changes, doesn't just produce a team, but changes the trajectory of the team. And I think Ilara has it. He's shown that he's class. I'm excited to see what he can do once. I mean, mind you, he's doing this in the short amount of time he's been here, in preseason shape. He doesn't even really know his teammates too well. He doesn't know their all. He doesn't know all their preferences and stuff like that. And the more he stays here, he's already playing at a really high level, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about what I've seen from him, and that gives me hope going forward. And I like to see how this midfield does against Seattle, because this is going to be a real test. Seattle is tough anywhere. Seattle is a team that knows how to win. They know they know how to go on the road and steal points. And I will be watching the midfield, and I'll be watching Leggett, Ilara. I'll be watching Paxton, who's looking like he's back finally. That's where my excitement going. Where my I would say excitement, but my positive outlook comes from is the fact that Paxton is looking better. Velasco is looking like he's hitting his gear. Areola is looking better. He's not. He doesn't look like he's all the way back, but he's looking like he's on his way back. Ilara looks good. There's a lot of hope there. I still don't know. I'm still not haven't seen enough of Frazier to make a judgment on him. Um, I can't say that I was impressed by him, but considering where he's playing, what he's doing, he's mainly going to be the number two D mid behind Quinion, and if people tell me, hey, he's playing at the same level as Cirillo, I'll take it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it. So I'm positive, but no more injuries, please. I mean, we just got back a bunch of people from injuries, and losing Bernard. Let's hope that we don't start losing other guys.
Mm. Well, this in other good news, it was international break, and so we saw some guys from FC Dallas and from the FC Dallas family, you could say, including Pepi. We opened the show with his nice goal against Uzbekistan. I bet he starts in this next match. But
it's hard for me to get excited for the U.S. national team simply because, mind you, I get excited, but I have to shut off my social media because
the chatter.
you beat Uzbekistan 3-0. Not a bad team. I mean, okay, yes, I know they're not world beaters, but they're not a bad team. They're a tough team. They look solid. They play solid, and 3-0 is an impressive victory by any metric. U.S. fans, they're just a tough lot. It's like they look at the team and they expect the Globetrotters. It's like, oh, we're playing Uzbekistan. We should be like just blowing these guys out of the water. And it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if the U.S. won that game 6-0. They'd be like, that's. They just moved the goalpost. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm getting excited about that. I'm excited that Pepi scored, and it's not that Pepi scored. It's that Balogun looked like he was doing a Ferreira imitation out there. I just, people say, "Oh, he's dropping too far back." Oh, it's like, hey, wait a minute, that sounds like a familiar complaint, you know. So, that's,
Yeah, I know. At some point, you
just
think,
say it. I just
well,
say it. Nothing against Balogun. It could be the fact that he was only going to play a half. That has a psychological effect on people too. So. So I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know if if his head wasn't. He's a professional, sure, but I'm just saying it has to affect the player.
mm-hmm,
And
sure, yeah.
I'm glad Pepe scored. Pepe is still growing. He's still a growing player, and he's a player that plays on and feeds on confidence. So, yay! Let's see some more. Let's see that confidence build.
We also had Carl Sante from North Texas make get a call up to Haiti again. I did a nice interview. I was able to sit down with him. I'll be actually releasing the raw audio this week as a special for our podcasters, just to listen to the guy. Interesting conversation with him, and no, he's only 21 years old and still has a bright future ahead of him.
Still raw.
Yeah, still raw, and could lock down a spot because especially of the makeup of the roster. I don't know if he has a green card. I didn't ask that. That would have been interesting to know, because if he does, you could really see him slot in as that number 3 sort of backup defensive mid going forward. But who knows? We'll see what happens next year. But he's had a good season, good experience for him on the international stage with Haiti, and he's ambitious.
I'm not ready to say that he'll get a roster spot, but I would like to see him go out on loan to a USL Championship team and see how he takes that step up in competition. Because let's face it, that we've had players that have played really good for North Texas, and they just have not, for whatever reason, have not impressed the coaching staff and whatnot. And Saint has some things that he brings to the table that I haven't seen from other players. But like I said, he's just a raw talent. He's young, he's raw, and he's still, I'm still not convinced that he has MLS level speed, which I think is ultimately what decides if you make it or not. You may have the skills and everything else, but if you can't pick that MLS speed up and make your decisions faster and stuff like that, that's what hinders you. Kamungo at the beginning of the season compared to before he got injured, night and day. You could see early on in the season that he was struggling with the MLS speed, but once he settled in, he's been solid, and that's, I'm just saying, there's no guarantee that especially at a demanding position as a D mid, where you're protecting the back line. That's like I said, I'd like to see him a year in USL Championship and starting, not just coming off the bench.
Sure, that makes sense. The other call up, which was big news, I think worthy of big news. Also, the one of the, was it 23 best under 23? They keep changing it. Under best 24 under 24.
22 under 22
which was Alan Velasco getting the call up to Argentina, and really evidently accounted for himself well, scoring a goal with the U23s in a victory there, and also probably it looks like, I think they did some training with the senior team as well, or so there's some kind of crossover. Yes. But really exciting to see Velasco get hit a sort of a reward and recognition of his play.
Well, a huge goal and a huge performance from him, because he's not a lot to be, he's fighting to be on that Olympic team, the Argentina Olympic team, which would be massive for him. And I would say the call up, some people were like, well, he's one of these guys that's on the bubble or whatnot for their Olympic team. He's not playing like a guy on the bubble. He was playing like a guy that deserves to be on that squad, and going out there and balling out, even in friendlies, that's what gets you. It's hey, first secure your spot on that Olympic squad, and then second, prove that you can be a starter on that squad. And I think Velasco right now is mind you, a young player, another player that's going to feed off of confidence and whatnot. This is massive for him. This is massive for his growth, massive for his confidence. And right now, you have to be getting excited that we're finally starting to see him start to develop to that $8 million man that we thought we were getting, that we've only seen glimpses of, and we're finally starting to see him basically. The gears are ticking. He's starting to feel comfortable. He's starting to basically play as a game changer, as opposed to someone who's just another player, relying on other players to free him up and whatnot. And it's exciting. I think it's an exciting moment right now for Velasco.
Well, here's the question that Hotch asked. Velasco is the most likely of the current starters to be sold this offseason. What is most likely the team's response in his absence? And he goes on to ask if it could be a formation change and everything. But I think the question mark, just as you're saying, Jose, even for the first part of this conversation, while yes, Velasco's stock has gone up a lot, I would predict Jesus, if he finishes the year strong, is more likely sold this winter than Velasco. And part of it is that if Velasco's in contention for a spot with the Olympics for Argentina, why change your location? Right before and potentially lose playing time, and then have your spot on that squad come up because you're not getting as many minutes. So it's all about the situation for these players. So I would think, if anything, Velasco would do well to wait until next summer after the Olympics, or to see where he is then. Rather, keep getting minutes, stay in form, show that you're ready to lock down that spot, rather than take a risk in the winter and potentially go to a team where you might not play as much as you are here. I don't know. Those are kind of the factors that these players have to think about with their agents, right?
Yeah, but the reason Velasco is your most likely to be sold, as opposed to Ferreira, it's multiple things. One, Velasco wants to be in Europe. He's a player that has, not hidden the fact that he wants to go to Europe and sees Dallas as a stepping stone. And mind you, but he's not playing like he doesn't want to be here. He's treating it as, hey, I have to excel at this level to get where I want to be, and he's doing it the right way, Where Ferreira, he's a player who probably, and I mean, I don't know him personally, but from what he says and the way he behaves, this is a player that wants to win a title, some kind of trophy, with FC Dallas, and as opposed to making Europe his priority. Now, he's a player who I know I get annoyed when everyone calls him a lifer and whatnot. The guy's 22. Here's a guy who knows that he doesn't have to go to Europe right away. He's getting paid better than most players his age in MLS. And the team really has built around him. Let's face it. When they signed him and made him the first homegrown DP, you're like, well, are they going to build a team around him? And they have built the team around him. If Jesus isn't here, he's not here. It's not the same team. It's all designed to, when he's here, this team gets points. That's what it is, and it's not his price tag that's scaring people. It's how much money he's making. Also, it's the combination of his contract, the money he's making, the fact that he doesn't mind waiting a year or 2 or 3 to go to Europe.
Sure,
that is a huge factor. Where Velasco is younger, and really his if he goes out, makes the Olympic team for Argentina and balls out, he's gone. Because somebody will go, hey, this kid is doing everything he's supposed to be doing. So
it's a question of timing for all these guys, and I just don't know about this offseason. I think it's going to be a question. I think even for Jesus, it's going to be, is the right offer and the right situation there.
And I want to add that the team doesn't have to replace Velasco if Velasco goes. But because Velasco has moved centrally, if he leaves, if he's sold, you already have Ilara, who is an 8, not a 6. You already got Pax. You already got Jesus Christ, I can't think. Leggett. That's 3 guys fighting for 2 8 spots right there. And you got I can't think of our South African player for a second there.
Siki.
Yeah, Siki. And you got Siki. You're set at the 8 spot, in all honesty. So really, it's just a matter of, hey, we need to find a winger, but you're not playing Velasco winger, so you're trying to find that winger now. Frankly, you could promote Kamungo to an actual starter once, him and Ariola would probably be your starters next year. So I don't think you have to replace Velasco if Velasco leaves, because he's playing as an eight. He's not playing on the wing, and you have already four eights on the roster besides him. Um, if Ferreira leaves, that opens up a whole can of worms that Dallas
Even
has to
then,
deal with.
I mean, even then, I think the team is putting themselves in a position where they're beginning to have some options. Not necessarily always the best options, but Ansah, Kumungo, and of course Jimenez are all options. So it's not like, oh gosh, we got to completely rebuild the position come. And of course, and Mulatto, who is still getting his seasoning, but who
Yeah,
knows
and
what his future will be. So there's
but the
some
thing with
options,
Ferreira,
but
but the thing with Ferreira, it's if you sell Ferreira, you literally built a team around him.
sure,
So if you
sure.
sell the guy you built the team around, you're not gonna be able to replace him. You're gonna be able to bring in a guy to play striker, but now you gotta rethink how you're gonna build a team. Do you build it around Velasco? He may be leaving. I mean, do you say, hey, Kamungo is our next star? Let's build it around the wings. You have to suddenly decide, okay, if Jesus is gone, where do we go next? Because that's the difference between losing Velasco and losing Ferreira. You lose Velasco, you already have the players to replace him on your roster at that eight spot. You lose Jesus, now you got to replace him and you got to rethink your team build. So it's a bigger blow losing Jesus.
Well, good stuff. Good questions there, Hotch, and of course we got to get 3 points in Houston. I think that would
Absolutely.
be wonderful, and to get the Copa Tejas would be a nice little tally on this year. It does seem, and well, let's shift to North Texas really quick. North Texas did get eliminated in their last game, officially from postseason play. Really disappointing season overall. Even if you can look at some bright spots throughout the season for this team, you can look at some guys, and it felt like the way they constructed the roster. The big question mark that I'll have, of course, is Javier Cano, who certainly you could argue about the results. He didn't get the results as a head coach. I'm not going to argue with that at all. But it's not like under Gall, their interim, that the results markedly improved either. They kind of carried those same challenges over. But what you did see under Gall is a lot more additions to the team, a lot more signings to add depth, competition, and that all which builds toward next year. So there's just some question marks about all that. But hey, at this point they have a couple of games left, opportunities for guys to show what they're capable of, and to give some guys minutes and see who's going to be around next year, and starting fresh then, and finding that coach maybe who's already in the organization that can take this team where they need to go.
So so I want to defend Coach Cano. Let me come out and say that I honestly don't think he did anything wrong. I think you have to put this on the general manager and the ownership. I think their messaging to Cano was wrong. Cano, if you watch the games that he coached, and he was giving a ton of minutes to the younger players. He was rotating. I mean, they hardly ever started. I think Henry is the only center back that started pretty much most matches. But the pairings were always different. It looked like a development team. It looked like Cano was brought in and said, "Hey, we need you to basically find talent and don't worry about the wins." And I think that basically they were confident that this team had so much talent that the wins would come anyway. And so Coach Cano was basically getting minutes to everybody, trying to develop the roster, not the team. And I don't think it was the message was it's we're gonna make we must make the playoffs. You must win. I don't think that he never coached that way. To me, it was basically, if you look at the lineups compared to what Gall is showing now, where he's starting consistent lineups. You never got that from Coach Cano, and he gave a ton of minutes to young players, and that will pay off next year for this team. Well, by the way, they signed Diego Pepi, so another young player signed to. I mean, look at all they've signed what, 5, 6,
It
16,
seems
17
like
year
it,
olds.
right? Yeah.
You know, you got Pepe, you got Lacey, you got uh, uh, Uz- Urzua and Diego, and then you got the kid that got injured, and uh, there's like 6, 7 teenagers that were signed this year to North Texas, and frankly, these kids will have a full year of professionalism next year, and you now have a coach in Gal who understands that the team has to win. So I think the approach will be different next year. I think the messaging was wrong, and the fact that Coach Cano was surprised that he was fired tells you that what he was told and what was expected of him was not. There was a loss in translation there. You
Mm,
know,
mm.
that's my take on this, because I was pretty happy seeing that all the young players were getting minutes, and
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 if
and
some of those guys, some of those young players, through that experience, become major prospects, the team, the organization will have to thank Cano for giving him that boost, that opportunity, in the long
yeah,
term.
yeah, I've absolutely, and to add, you know, insult to termination there to Coach Cano, Gall next year is going to have players that will have played in UPSL, because FC Dallas is launching a UPSL squad for players in the U19s and North Texas that are in need of minutes. It's we talk about that ladder, missing rungs in the ladder. We're missing a Division Two team.
Mm-hmm.
We got FC Dallas. Then we have no Division Two team. Then we have North Texas. Well, then there's the U19s, but now there's a UPSL team between there to you know get that another. So you had that missing piece of the ladder. You had two. Now you have only one. So you have no Division Two team. Uh, because that leap from North Texas to FC Dallas is a massive leap. But so you have to think that the leap from the U19s to North Texas is a similar leap, and now Gal will have be able to see some of these players that are not getting a lot of minutes play for UPSL and be able to better, you know, assess how they can help North Texas. So huge move for North Texas. Good move by FC Dallas. You know, I wish Kano had it. I think it would have helped this year, but
Mm-hmm.
team's
Well,
learning.
well, good stuff. I think we'll leave it there. We look forward to the game this weekend. Should be a fun one as FC Dallas welcomes Seattle. Let's do quick predictions of the match. I'm going to go with a 2-0 victory FC Dallas. I think they get it done at home.
I'm going to go further and say 3-0.
All right. Good.
I think I
All
want to
right.
see Dallas go for the jugular, and I mean, it's Seattle. It's in all honesty, it's probably going to be 1-0. But I would like to see this team start. I think the fact that everyone's clicking, they're starting to click. They're not clicking, as a team, but individuals are starting to click. I think this team is ready for a big outburst, a big, you know, put it all together, and I would love for it to be against Seattle.
All right.
So 3-0 is my prediction.
Cool. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Hodge, thank you for the comments. Appreciate you
Good
all. Of
questions.
course, be posting the audio, and wherever you find podcasts, you can like and subscribe, leave us a review. Of course, follow us at Afterburn Soccer. Site's been a little bit slow last week. Also, a little bit of sickness in my family, and so I just didn't have the energy to devote. But look for some fresh articles as we start to kick toward the rest of the season. A lot of soccer ahead. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's always a pleasure being on here.